The Corvette, with its sleek lines and powerful presence, epitomizes the American spirit of innovation, freedom, and adventure. Through just a simple photograph, it transforms into a visual narrative, preserving its legacy for future generations. Each image captures not just a car, but a moment in history. And perhaps nobody has played a more pivotal role in capturing that history than journalist and photographer Richard Prince.
I was born in 1963. I grew up around cool cars, and what really got me focused on Corvettes in general and on C2s in particular was a magazine article. It was a 1967 Corvette, and I couldn't wait to get a job. Start saving my money to buy one of these, all focused on that goal. I'm gonna own one of these cars, and I did.
I met somebody with very curly hair that had something to do with Corvettes. I loved cars my whole life. So he just converted the Porsche gene to a Corvette gene.
Cars were a mutual interest right from the start, so that's something that helped nurture that relationship.
We wound up going to his senior prom in a nice silver 66 convertible Corvette.
Every car's got a story. I actually, by myself, got on a Greyhound bus and went from New York to Knoxville, Tennessee, with every penny I had saved to go to a big Corvette event there called the Corvette Expo. I bought that 66 in Knoxville and drove it back to New York.
From there, he progressively got nicer and nicer cars. He had a 69 427 car that was a Bloomington Gold car. It was gorgeous. We called it the Pumpkin. I just fell in love with cars and with him.
They would spend countless hours together, breathing new life into the cars they found, turning worn-out classics into show-stopping beauties.
He helped me buy my first Corvette. We were going to do body-off restoration on it. We had nowhere to do it, so we did it in my parents' driveway.
My in-laws thought the neighbors are going to ostracize us. Nobody will ever speak to us again. Look what we've done. We brought everybody's property values down. It was actually quite the opposite. The neighbors became fascinated.
Everybody in the neighborhood would come by. They didn't believe the car would ever go back together. That cemented, this is nice, restoring cars.
I thought we'd be better off just keeping it a hobby, but she was tenacious. She didn't want to hear no.
Richard and his wife turned their passion into a thriving business, specializing in restoring classic Corvettes, drawing clients from all over the country.
He knows his stuff inside and out. And it's like, look, you have to have gone through what he went through, you know, owning a restoration shop, working on Corvettes, to have that kind of understanding.
I wrote a letter to the editor of Vet magazine, Randy Riggs. He was interested in what I wrote, and he wanted to know would I write for the magazine. No, I'm not the writer in the family. You want to talk to my husband.
And he said, what a coincidence. I'm looking for somebody to write a column every month, and I want somebody who has deep hands-on experience with the cars. Would you be interested? To my great fortune, Randy Riggs was an established, very talented photographer, and he was very patient with me. So he helped me to quickly understand the basics of photographing cars. My wife and I found, bought, and restored a very well-known 1967 Corvette. It's one of 20 factory L88 cars. It was bought new by the Sunray DX Oil Company, specifically for their road racing program.
This car was the single ugliest Corvette on the planet, bar none, when we saw it.
It was the large displacement GT winner at the 12 Hours of Sebring in 1967. We restored it back to that time period.
It's probably the single greatest C2 1963 to 67 Corvette, period.
And we, just on a whim, decided to commission a painter to produce a painting of that car for our own enjoyment.
I was with two friends, members of the Automotive Fine Art Society. We were at a show in Detroit, and Charlie Maher, one of the other members of AFAS, had a lovely painting of a 67 Corvette Coupe, red, white, and blue. And it was striking. It was magnificent. So I talked to Charlie about purchasing it. And he said, commission piece, done by me for a couple in New York, Prince's.
So he got in contact with Richard. They didn't know each other. They developed a level of trust between the two of them. Gary said, I really need to borrow your car. Richard said, okay. That's what kicked off the entire Corvette relationship.
But the deal was, because he's a New Yorker like myself, I want to be embedded with the team. So that's how Richard got involved with us, through Charlie Maher's painting that I happened to fall in love with, and the rascal still never sold it to me.
None of us knew Richard. You know, it was just this guy coming around, another photographer, just always taking pictures. You could see quickly how dedicated he was and how much he really cared about the Corvette history, and it means a lot to him.
And he always anticipated to be at the right place at the right time to catch that perfect action shot of Corvette or the crew or the pit stop.
The photograph that comes to my mind all the time is back to that 2016 finish where you saw those two cars coming over the line together. He's got one with the two cars coming over the line for our first victory at Le Mans. I mean, when you see those photographs and you have experienced that, you have a complete chapter written in your mind that is inspired by looking at that one picture.
Super talented guy. He made us and our cars look great. Just some beautiful artistic images that he would get.
After 9/11, we decided to dedicate our cars to the fallen in New York. The photographs that he took of those cars were symbolic of unity, standing together, respect for the fallen.
Richard is just a part of the team as anybody who engineers the car, who drives the car, who manages the program. He's just on the roster.
Richard's dedicated just like the whole team was through the whole process, so he fit in great.
We tease him all the time about how much time it takes him to set up a photograph. You know, my Social Security's gonna run out before we get this picture taken, okay? But at the end of the day, when you look at what the final product is, he makes us proud to be part of that picture.
Richard takes a lot of risks to get the best shot, the shot that you wouldn't expect him to be able to get. We're at VIR one year, and he's in a photographer area, but car happened to come in right where he was at. The wall gave way or moved enough to where it actually hit Richard.
I looked up, saw it coming, and I had about a second before the moment of impact to react, and then the car struck the crash barrier. So I was struck by a steel I-beam.
Maybe 10 minutes later, I'm in the car driving, and he called. And I thought, uh-oh, this isn't good.
I said there was a crash at the end of the race. Unfortunately, I was kind of caught up in that crash a little bit, but I think I'm okay, and she lost her mind. She was screaming, "Don't lie to me," because she sensed that I was maybe not being 100% honest with her, and then we lost the phone signal.
And it wasn't until hours later that I heard from him, and everybody clued me in as to what was happening.
The surgeon arrived, and she described the procedure, and I said, "That is utterly barbaric. No, thank you. Give me another option." And this is burned in my memory. She looked at her watch, and she said, "You have two options. Either you agree to a chest tube, or you will be dead within 30 minutes. And I said, "Doctor, I'll take the chest tube."
He was in the hospital for 3 days. The Corvette race team sent one of the team members to go pick him up at the hospital with these instructions to take him directly back to the hotel. And Richard basically threatened the guy and said, "Take me to the track." Being as stubborn as he is, he took out his camera and had to take photographs to prove to himself that he could do it.
I just committed myself. When I get out of this hospital, I'm moving forward. I'm not going to be debilitated. I'm going to do whatever I need to heal and to keep working. And I did.
He had another race coming up in maybe a week or something, And no, he's not going to stay home. He didn't stay home.
He was back there 2 weeks later. He's a tough guy, that's for sure.
When we race for a couple reasons, and one of the key ones is we race to tell the world about Corvette and to show our brand as strong, durable, fast, successful, able to compete up against the best and win. Richard, in the photography, tells that story.
Richard's dedication to mission is unquestioned. Richard, as an enthusiast, is the quintessential model by which enthusiasts should be judged.
He's written several books, I think 4 or 5 books. His latest one, Corvette 70 Years, the one and only. And that one sold out right away, went into a second printing, and was even printed in French.
If you look up the word gentleman in the dictionary, Richard Prince's picture will be there.
A life built on speed, precision, and an unyielding love for the road, yet deeply rooted in a simple, unchanging passion of a sports car.
When you look at Richard's body of work, when it comes to the Corvette hobby, there's nobody like it. That's why he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
The fact that these people who I work with and I play with and I spend time with and who I really do love made that choice to induct me is what really means the most to me.
He's just happy. He's happy doing what he does, and I'm proud of him.
He lives Corvette, he breathes Corvette, he loves Corvette. There's not a greater enthusiast on this planet than Richard Prince.
For his role in documenting the legacy of the Corvette with unparalleled artistry and commitment, we welcome Richard Prince into the Corvette Hall of Fame.